I got it.
There we go.
All right, so what we wanted to do is at the semester, we've decided we're going to start doing, we had decided this a few weeks ago. We were going to start doing some kind of training on the 4-year plan and how to fill it out and whatnot. Giselle and Pedro have graciously offered to stay, and they're going to input and interrupt me. They're going to unmute themselves and interrupt as we go. And then we're going to record this. And that way, if you guys need to review this anytime, or, 5 months down the line, you need to review it, you can. So the importance of the 4-year plan. The 4-year plan is AVID. I like the way Chris said it. He said, we're kind of like case carriers in that we need to look at the 4-year plan. Tina said the same thing. The 4-year plan is, are they on track to graduate? The 4-year plan is, have they fulfilled A through G? The 4-year plan is, do they need to do any grade improvement for A through G? The 4-year plan, 9th and 10th grade is especially important because you have to set them up in the right classes during summer, 7th period, 0 period, even 1 through 6, in order for them to have room for AVID in their schedule. So it should never be confusion on, are the students on track for A through G? Because as AVID teachers, if we use the 4-year plan, they will be. And if there's any grade problems, we'll see it because it's on the 4-year plan. So right, even when we do registration, we have them fill the classes out on the 4-year plan, so that if counseling calls us and says, hey, I've got Mark, and Mark wants to take anatomy, but anatomy is only offered this period, what can we do instead? Then you can look at the 4-year plan and go, okay, Mark already took bio, he already took chemistry. So he's actually okay. He's not a med kid, so he could take AP Human Geo if he wanted another life science. Let me email Mark and ask him. So this is kind of where you kind of have wiggle room and really planning. College application is also the 4-year plan. The way the 4-year plan is set up is, as the kids are filling out their A through G on their college application, they're pulling it directly off the 4-year plan. If they have to pull it off the transcript, it gets really confusing as what counts for A, what counts for B, et cetera, where to put it on the application. So that's another reason that the 4-year plan is so essential. So where does it start? It starts with the AVID teacher. Okay, this is where you're conferencing with the students. This is the way it's been since I started being an AVID teacher back in, I don't know, dinosaur times. You're conferencing with the students during registration. You're conferencing with students when grades are done each semester. The 4-year plan is really a form that should be hit at the beginning of the year. It should be hit at the middle of the year, and it should be hit again the spring or conclusion of the year. So you're looking at that 4-year plan at least 3 times a year. And that is an essential document. So what are you doing? You're looking at transcripts. You're also looking at what classes they need to take for APEX and follow-up. You're conferencing with counselors regarding your students' grades and your students. So if you have a question where you're like, hey, AP Human Geo, what does that count for? You can shoot the alpha counselor or AVID counselor a question and say, hey, what is this? And they can clear that up. The second person in this process is the counselor, and that is their alpha counselor. Their alpha counselor is there for you guys. If you guys have questions, they can ask you questions. And also if their alpha counselor is not, and this is coming directly from a meeting I had with the administration and Maria this week, they might need retraining. So they might not know A through G. So if you're checking and you see that maybe the alpha counselor, there's a hole in it, that's where we can make sure that the alpha counselor gets trained on what counts for what and working with direction of the head counselor. Again, that's not your responsibility. Your responsibility is starts with teacher. But counselors are the second, the alpha counselor is the second checkup with the student to make sure that no holes get kids get falling through holes. Then it's the AVID counselor. What does the AVID counselor do? The AVID counselors work with the coordinators to problem solve. So Pedro, Giselle, and I meet every week, and we meet for an hour and we talk about issues and we come up with solutions for the program as a whole. The AVID counselor also helps with our interventions we have. The AVID counselor is also there available to answer questions if we have questions. The AVID counselor helps with exit lists for the alpha counselor's movements. Then the next step in the process, because we have seen in the last year that there are holes and there are problems. And so this is our attempt to correct those systematic issues. So the next set is now admin and data tech. The admin is going to start running reports to share with administration, counseling, and me. They're going to run reports for us of grade problems. They're going to run reports for us of credit deficiencies. Chris and Maria and Jesse are currently, we met with this week to talk about this. They're going to start doing that. They're also going to work with the head counselor to enforce systematic processes for Palmdale High School. Chris and Maria are going to be doing that in the next week or so. And then I'm going to meet back with them after they figure out the whole system for Palmdale High School. They're also meeting with me to discuss barriers for student achievement. I work with admin every week. I meet with them and talk to them about AVID. What is the coordinator going to do? Update forms to make sure A through G is accurate, academic, academy appropriate, and PHS graduation. Even this year, I set up all the 4-year plans. I met with Ruben, I met with Angela, Hefter, and Deb. I met with counseling. And then Giselle and Pedro fortunately noticed that physics was on the engineering list for 4-year plan, and it's no longer being offered. And that just happened. So that's where I'm going to be working with counseling to make sure that the 4-year plans are accurate. I'm also going to continue, like I have been, running monthly at-risk reports and interventions so that I can give you a list of, hey, here's the kids that you have that have D's and F's. But of course, you're already looking at the grades, so you know that as well. I'm going to meet with the AVID counselors to set up interventions and problem solving. I'm going to set up timeframes and initiate through teachers, interventions, probation, registration, summer school, et cetera. You guys know I always try to find out that information and get it to you. And I'm going to collect lists of at-risk students from the teachers. You're where it starts. We have 438 students, and each of them, we have our AVID family. You guys each have your kids. You work really hard in keeping up on the kids' grades. So of course, you're going to know who your at-risk students are, and you're going to give me those lists like you always have. I'm also going to get data pulls from administration to be able to see, and counseling to be able to see, okay, who are the at-risk? And that's going to be used for probation and exits. I'm also here to voice problem solving with teachers to face with admin and counseling. So for instance, there have been some problems in the last week or two, and it's past the 3-week deadline to do class changes. Admin's the one who has to approve those. So I had to sit down with admin and say, okay, here's the issues, and can we get permission to start moving people? And so there's that. So today, what we're going to do is we're going to go through the A through G, and we're going to talk to you guys about registration. But I did want to go through the process because we know that there have been issues with students in our classes that shouldn't be and whatever else. And I met with counseling and admin for a couple hours this week to try to figure out how can we fix the system. So PD on how to check for A through G. So the first thing that you're going to need is you need to know registration's coming. So I have been trying to get the registration forms for you guys. They're not quite ready. Chris is proving it, so-and-so is approving it. As soon as they have them, Maria, Giselle, Pedro, and Rosa have all promised me they'll give them to me right away. I do know 10th grade registration is going to happen the first week of March, and 11th grade registration is going to happen the week of September 22nd. They're going through the US history and the health classes this year. And so you want to start conferencing with your kids about their 4-year plans and seeing where they're going to be as far as what classes they need to take. The first step we need you guys to conference with your kids like you usually do. There is going to be the 4-year plans. And so just a reminder, if you click on this link, it'll take you to the different 4-year plans. If the student is a Med Academy 4-year plan, they have to have a Med Academy one. And this is because there's different requirements and they have to be very creative with their schedule, just like engineering, if they want to be able to take Med Academy or engineering. And be an AVID for 4 years. If we are not conscious of that, they will not have room in their schedule for it. PE athletics is a little bit different. PE athletics is if this kid is wanting to play sports, they have to take specific classes to reach a point value for the NCAA. And so you will use the 4-year plan. I would recommend doing this for any kid who is in PE football, PE 6th period, because again, the schedule gets complicated and you want to make sure that they're set to go. For all of our non-Med Academy engineering, PE athletics, and whatever choir, there's another one that's specifically choir to make sure there's room in their schedule. So if not, then you would go to the 4-year plan, the regular 4-year plan. When you click on these, and I'm going to open just a couple to kind of give you an idea.
It's up there on the top right. Yeah.
So what we also did, this was Arturo's suggestion, this is what Knight High School did. They highlight what classes they typically want to encourage AVID students to take so that the counselors and the AVID teacher can look at it and kind of get a glance of, okay, these are the kind of classes they should be in. Now, obviously, if they're in like Read 180, that's where it gets creative. And then they would have to take like health during the summer, or they could take PE 0 period. If they're in the Med Academy, they can take health 0 period. But that's where they have to start getting creative with their schedule. So that's the first thing. And I'm going to go back to that in just a second. Then you also need the A through G requirements. Rose is going to send out this form. I've been using this form for years. Can you see it? No.
It's loading.
Mm.
It's a bit blurry too. I don't know if it's just on my end.
Yeah, it's not going to let me do it. There is a form. Can you see it now? No. So it's basically a form that's A through G. I'm going to attach it and send it to you guys right now so you can open it on your computers.
Okay.
This one is outdated. I have been trying to get the new one, but they're all working on it. So I'm putting this in the email that it's old, so you don't want to use this one. But if you can look at that form too. The nice thing is it actually is specific for Palmdale High School. It says University of California at the top of it, but that UC also counts for CSU for the most part. So if you follow this, it should set you up for the CSU system too. So you'll see when you open it, it says history, 2 years are required, English, 4 years are required, math, 3 years are required, 4 recommended, laboratory science, 2 years required, 3 recommended. Now, when you're thinking about the whole recommended part, if they're going into a program that's impacted, a major that's impacted, then they should be doing the recommended. If they're going to a university that has low acceptance rates, like UCLA, UC San Diego, UC Berkeley, then they should take the recommended. And then you're going to see that there is a language. You'll see it's 2 years required, 3 years recommended. Well, here's the thing. If they take Spanish 2, it counts for 2 years. So a lot of our kids are bilingual. If you ask them, do you speak Spanish? Do you read in it? Do you write in it? They can a lot of times go into Spanish 2, Spanish 3, Spanish 4, and sometimes they can go straight into AP Spanish. It really depends on their skill set. What I've always done is I will contact the Spanish teacher. Maricela has helped me out with this. Bertha has helped me out with this, where I'll say, hey, I got a kid I think might be good to take Spanish 2 next year. Is there any way that I can have him come talk to you? Or can I send you something that you can look at? And that's been something that has been really helpful to me. So again, if they take Spanish 2, it counts for 2 years, Spanish 3, and so on, 3 years, 4 years. AP, they could get college credit, and they get, I think, 4 years. It might be 5, I can't remember.
Angela, really quick.
Yeah.
Just so everyone's aware, every beginning of the year, we always assess all the students, and we always push them out to the higher levels, because the majority of them will sign up for level 1 or level 2, but many of them can do the higher levels. So first day of school, we do an assessment, and then within the second week, they're pushed out to the higher levels.
Yeah, and I think that's great because, like, you know, like Maricela said, it's challenging the kids to where the kids' skill set is. But then the additional cool thing is that it helps our kids skip a year. And with our Med Academy and Engineering Academy students in particular, that's really helpful because there's not a lot of room in their schedule.
And one of the things
So
that, I'm sorry, Angela, and one of the
yeah,
things
it's
that
good.
to emphasize on those Spanish 2 students, if they're not doing too good first semester, encourage them second semester, because it's the second semester grade that validates the whole year. So what they will put in that graduation, in that college application is, let's say they got a D first semester and a C second semester. In that college application, they want that C for second semester to validate the whole year and just the P for first semester.
Thank you. And then also, again, to reiterate what Giselle's saying, it depends on the colleges they're going to as well. Like, Cal State Northridge is our sister campus. And so they have a program with us where they're going to accept, and Cal State Bakersfield also, they're going to accept people from our area prior to people further out, right? But if they're going to CSUN, if they have a D, it might not be detrimental to their college application. However, if they're applying to UCLA, we know that they're going to be competing against other kids that, don't have that. So when we're looking at grade improvement, that's something also that we need to think about, because like Giselle said, and I think the same thing, Giselle, if you could pipe in, or Pedro, the same thing for math. Counselors in the past have told me, if they messed up in Algebra 1, or say they messed up in Algebra 2, but they did better second semester, it would waive it. Can you pipe in for us?
Correct. It validates the year. The same thing goes for chemistry, but not for biology. So same thing, validation goes for those components. So same thing. So that Algebra 2 passing grade validates that Algebra 1. As long as they get that second semester passing grade, the validation comes through. So the second semester validates the whole year.
Yeah.
But I want you to keep in mind, but then they're missing, if they get a fail, right? They fail first semester, they pass second semester, they're validating the A through Gs for the college, but they're not meeting the high school requirements. So keep that in mind always, at both levels, as we're talking about that A through G and the high school requirement. And for chemistry, the same thing. If they pass the second semester, it validates the whole year also for chemistry. And right now they cannot do Apex for chemistry or language. So there is no grade improvement for those 2 subject areas.
Giselle, when you said the second semester, did you mean, or when you said that it counts for A through G but not high school, did you mean not high school credit wise, or not high school like even graduation like at all?
So they're required, let's say for math, they're required a total of 30 credits. So if they don't have the 30 credits, then they don't meet the high school requirements.
Right. Again, the example that Giselle gave was like, I think she said if they fail the first semester but pass the second, obviously they're getting credit for the second semester but not the first. If we're just talking about high school graduation requirement, of course.
But they could get those 5 math credits from a different math class, for example. Like it doesn't have
Correct.
to be Algebra 1. Okay.
No, it doesn't. Correct. It doesn't have to be Algebra 1. They validate the whole year.
Right. But obviously just encourage them, again, to
Yes.
pass their classes. I mean, ultimately that's what's going to look better on their college application at the end of the day.
Exactly. And I think that's the key thing, because we know grade improvement is an issue. It depends, again, on the universities that they're applying to, what acceptance rate it is.
Exactly.
I have kids that I've had counselors, not our present counselors, not even anybody at our school right now, that have been like, oh, no, you don't have to worry about it. And I'm like, I know where you're applying. Yeah, you do. You need to do grade improvement for that. But if they're applying to Cal State Northridge or Cal State Bakersfield, where the acceptance rate is super high, then it might not be as much of an issue. Also, when you're looking at the A through G classes, and actually I'm going to show you the other, and I can't help it if it's blurry, but what I'm looking on I apologize. If you look at number 2B, where it says A through G requirements, if you click on that, what's going to happen is you're going to get this screen. And this is the same form that I sent. Nicole asked, am I going to send, are we getting a new one? Yes, you are. I've asked for a few times, but there's a lot of work that goes into all this, and they're trying to make sure everything's ready. So it's not ready yet. But they are going to be sending it to me immediately as soon as it's done. And then I'll send it to you guys. And the reason I like that other form is it's really clean and it's all in one. This one's a little bit more messy, but this is actually directly from UCOP. This is directly a UC thing. I use this the last 2 years when I'm helping my seniors fill out their college applications, because what it'll do is you can type in Palmdale High School. My link is directly to Palmdale High School, And what it will do is it will tell us specifically what classes count for A, what classes count for B, and it'll tell you how many years. So for instance, A, the history requirement, I didn't realize that there was only 2-year required until 2 years ago for the UC CSU applications. Until 2 years ago, I didn't realize that until I found this website. And specifically, they can take any of these courses and they count. The thing is, though, that our high school requires civics, econ, world history, or human geo or European, and US history. So we have specific requirements that are graduation requirements. But the nice thing is this, if you look at this list, guys, this will tell you every class that we have at our school and what it counts for. This page is also especially beneficial because say for instance, Med Academy, there's a lot of people that are like, course Y counts for this. And then I've looked it up and been like, no, course Y does not count for that. Course Y counts for this. And if you look on here, on the bottom, the G elective, there's specific classes. Kinesiology, for years, I had kids telling me, oh no, it counts for my physical science. No, it doesn't. It counts for a G elective. And here's the website that proves it. It's directly aligned to the UCs. You'll see IED, Intro to Engineering Design. It counts for a G elective. Med Science 1 counts for a G elective. But if you look, Med Science 2 does not count. And kids think it does, and it doesn't. So the nice thing about this, AVID 9 through 12, of course, is a G elective. So the cool thing about, and then Ag Earth Science. For the UC applications, Ag Earth Science does not count for physical science. It does for high school diploma in our district, but it does not count for physical science for UCs. It counts as a G elective. Another thing that's really good about this is that sometimes this changes. So what I had to do is I had to go back and I had to look at the top. Okay, my kid who took it in 16, 17. So for instance, in Intro to Health Careers, okay, Tim taught it 1 year and it was called, I can't remember the name of it, but he designed it so that it could count as a G elective. And then when he passed away, it went back to not counting for the UCs because we didn't have the accreditation or something, the paperwork that had got filed. Well, I had a kid who had taken it that year. So I went back and I looked the year that he took it, did it count as a G elective? And so this website is super helpful. I know that when I teach seniors again, I'm going to use this and I call out them. This counts for this. Any of you in IED, this is what it counts for. Any of you in EED, this is what it counts for. And so that's something that's been helpful too. But let me go back to the 4-year plan. So I did want to show you those two things, the A through G form that I'm going to be emailing you out in a doc, and then the A through G form through the UC system. But if you look here, and this website, I mean, on the 4-year plan, guys, it tells you what classes. So if you look at the B elective, they need 4 years. Straight across, they take 9 or 9 honors. They take 10 or 10 honors. They take 11 or AP Lang. They take English 12 or AP Lit. For US history, you're going to look, it's set up the same way. We can change this. I'll change this year because they can now take AP European or AP Human Geography and it'll count for world history. So I'll add that and I'll update that. But that is the way it goes. Math, here's what they need to take. They'll take Algebra 1 or Geometry, okay? Then second semester, 10th grade, now it gets a little bit creative. They can take either Algebra 2, they can take Algebra 2 Trig. If they took Algebra 1, they'll take Geometry. 11th grade, that's where Algebra 2 or Algebra 2 Trig Honors or AP Calculus AB, their senior year. These are the 4 classes they could take, okay? Now, we do know that there are other options. Intro to Health, Intro to Statistics, for instance, is an option. And that's where that you would go back and look, okay, does Intro to Statistics in here? We generally don't recommend our advocates to take it because of rigor. If you look at laboratory science, it'll say 2 years required, 3 recommended. So if you look across, it has it plotted out. Bio honors, chemistry honors, bio or AP Chem, they could take their 11th grade year. AP Environmental, they could take their senior year, but they could also take AP Environmental their junior year. It doesn't have to be this way. AP Bio or AP Chem or Anatomy. Then if they're not a med kid, not an engineering kid, they can take foreign language, Spanish 1 or Spanish 2. Spanish 2 or AP if already speaking. They could take Spanish 3, Spanish 4 too. Visual Performing Arts, You'll see when we're trying to get them to take art. And then you'll also see AVID mapped out. And then these classes are required for graduation, the health and the PE, but they are not required for A through G. And that's why they're not in the A through G section. Additionally, if you see, I have an area that says optional 0 period or virtual, and we've put some optional classes. Spanish is 0 period, PE is 0 period. And because they're in AVID, they can be in these classes. Summer school, we put which classes they can take during summer school. Notice it tells you health, because they cannot take PE during the PE 1 during summer school. It's against California Ed Code now. They could take art, PE 2. And then if they take community college courses, they can add them down here. And some of those community college courses will wipe it out where they don't have to take certain classes. College tests, you can keep track of them. When they took their SAT, ACT, have them put the scores here. And then you'll notice that there's an area down here that talks about highlighting grade improvement. So my freshmen, they've already filled this out. And they're already starting to talk about what classes they're going to take next year. If you look at the Med Academy, it's a little bit different, okay? Med Academy students are going to take Med Science 1 and 2. I'm sorry, Med Science 1. And this is the AM option. We talk about, I worked with Angela Hefter and Tim Klein and Deb DeMeglio on filling this out. So the way the Med Academy is, they changed it. They want the kids to take anatomy their senior year. And so they have it all set up, and it tells you what year they'll take what. Intro to Health Careers is freshman year. Sports Med, you'll see, is a G elective, it's sophomore year. But the kids, some of them are gonna have to take summer school. They're gonna have to do a 0 period if they're in engineering or Med Academy. If they mess up in grades, even more so why they're gonna have to do that kind of stuff. So here's the thing, when we finish the semester, we should go in. This is what I had my kids do. They went in and they put their grade. I had them put a grade for every one of them. I told them, if you have a D or an F, you're gonna highlight it and you're gonna make it orange or whatever, so that I can look at it and glance and say, oh, there's a problem. And that way I know I need to do grade improvement, okay? A couple other things, geometry is a required course for them to take. Geo, they can take, or geotrig, either one counts. And that's for all grades that are applying to UCs and CSUs, Geo or Geotrig. But geometry is a required course. You can skip Algebra 1, you can't skip geometry. So anyway, so what I did is I set this up, and then in the spring, when the AVID coordinator gives out the summer school stuff, that's where I'm looking at these grades and I'm going, okay, you need to do summer school. Here's the classes that you need to take. And then in the August time, right before school starts again, I look up their transcripts. I look up the transcripts and I go in and I say, okay, what grades did my kids get during the summer school? Because I need to know, did they finish their APEX like they were supposed to? Because kids will say, you know, I've had kids that are in APEX and they don't finish it. And I'm like, I've been on you for 6 weeks now, and you have only done 2 assignments. What is your deal? So the nice thing is that if you go in here and you look, you can look kids' grades up and you can look up their transcripts. And so this is, again, another way. And if you look, I'm looking in historical grades. That's where I looked it up. I went to historical grades. And so here we know, because Cassandra's one of mine. She got 2 A's and she's got her art done. She's got Intro to Health Careers. She's got all this other stuff. But if you look at another kid I have, you can see he's not on track. He's got a D and 2 F's or 4 F's, right? I got another kid, and I have this all marked on a sheet so that I know. Jessica Chavez, I knew right away she had 1 F. It's her F is in Algebra 1. And so I know Maria, she's a great example, Vogel. She called me the other day and she said off the top of her head, she knew. She was like, this kid's got this credit they need to do, this credit. She's, you know, junior teacher. So anything you want to add, Pedro, Giselle?
I really like your sheets.
Yeah, they really map it out. The 4-year plan is like the Bible for AVID.
And the website that you recommended is such a key. And I could tell you, I definitely tell students to use the website a lot for their own way of practicing what classes to pick and what to navigate. I definitely, I use it a lot and tell students to use it a lot.
Yeah, I would ditto that as well. Also, this comes in very, very handy, especially if you ever get one of those students that comes into the Avid program, maybe during 10th grade year or maybe during their 11th grade year because they're coming from another school. Because you can look up those same schools, right? And then you can look up the years they were there and see, oh, what counts for what? Is this a G? Is this an F? You can, again, yeah, you can definitely explore. And then one thing I will say, and I know Jessica can will understand, especially if the students who are with you from 9th grade all the way to their senior year, that over the years, you're gonna come to see that the students are gonna become experts at their A through Gs, meaning it's gonna get to a point where they're gonna be like, well, do I really need to take this? I've already met my requirements, right? After they complete 3 years of math, oh, do I need to take a 4th year of math? I already have the minimum requirements, and they're gonna push and fight and scratch like, oh, I really don't want to take a 4th year of math. But also, Angela's pointing out, depending on where they want to apply to, right? I mean, me personally, I still always encourage a 4th year of math because regardless, no matter if you go to community college or 4-year, you're gonna see math your 1st year. That goes for math and English. And those are skills I don't ever encourage them to skip a year of math just because those skills, again, it's something that you want to keep practicing, even if you're not great at it, or maybe that's not their particular favorite subject, but it's something that those skills that you just want to keep polishing up.
And this is just to exemplify what Pedro was saying. I randomly selected Northridge Academy High School, and you'll see like they have Mexican American studies, Latin American studies. So we do have kids. I'm glad he brought that point up. We have kids that come in and they have like basket weaving research. And I'm like, what does basket weaving research look for? And I go, what school did you go to? And then I'll go to it. But the key thing is, like he's saying, you got to go to the year that they took that class. And then it'll tell you what class it counts for. And that's super helpful. All right, so any questions you guys have? I'm gonna stop sharing this. Any questions you guys have about any of that? So right now, setting up their 4-year plan and what classes they should be taking, that's what we need to be doing. They'll give us a Google form, and what's going to happen is they'll get the Google form in their history and their health classes, and that's where we have to go, hey, this is what you said, we're filling out the 4-year plan. So right now, my new teachers, here's where we're conferencing with that student, each student one-on-one during our tutorials or whatever. And then maybe have them come to your office hours too. And you're helping them pick out their classes for next year. I already started talking to my freshmen about it. And then what's going to happen is they'll file their Google form through their history and health class. Okay, it's all electronic this year, obviously. Then we're going to have a second step. And that's where Giselle and Pedro, real MVPs again, they're going to come in and they're going to do counselor Google Meet registration information with the kids. So on this date, for instance, for me, March 15th is my sign-in. And they're going to have a Google Meet, and the counselors I'll send my kids one at a time or whatever, however many kids, send them over. And that's where Giselle and Pedro will look at the kid and be like, hey, you took this class and you signed up for this, but you need this class. This is where we're trying to get one more strainer where kids are not falling through cracks. And so they're going to double check and make sure that your kids are in the right classes. And that's the whole goal of this. Now, some of this won't take very long. They'll open up the screen, they'll look at it and be like, boom, good. Yep. Any questions? Nope. Bye. And then the kid will leave. I've had this, like Pedro said, the kids do start becoming an expert with this. And truthfully, guys, they're very confident in you if you know what you're talking about. And so my kids generally are like, nah, I'm good. Forbes got me. But I do have kids that are like, Forbes said this, but I just wanted to check about this. Or can I do this? And those conversations, I would say at most generally talk 2-3 minutes, 5 minutes max. And so this is the day that this is all after registration. We're doing that this year differently. We've decided we didn't want to do it during registration. We thought it would be better to do it after registration so we could see, are there any kids changing their 4-year plan? We told you to take this, but you signed up for this, and just slipping through any cracks. Anything else before Giselle and Pedro bounce?
One of the things I was going to mention is I'll keep in mind these students that are going to take summer school sessions and when they're writing their schedules, to keep in mind that if they're going to commit to summer school classes, that they're not going to be on their schedules, because that's what I did notice when I stepped in this summer, that what they said that they were going to do, they didn't do during summer, and those schedules become very hectic. So having those conversations about their commitment to summer school, how that does impact and kind of favors them for those schedules, because those juniors and seniors, those schedules get extremely hard to fit the puzzle. And that's when you guys start getting those emails that it's just really hard to fit the puzzles. 9th and 10th graders know so much, but those are the ones that we want in summer school and zero period, to be honest. So that junior and senior year doesn't become those issues.
Anything else, guys? Okay, so I'm gonna stop recording